The movie is separated into 3 stories. The first story follows the king and queen of a kingdom called Long Trellis. At first, it appears that the couple is happy, but later on, we learn that the queen has a rare medical condition that prevents her from becoming a mother. As a result, the queen is always upset to see his wife in this state. The king calls in the best doctors and physicians from all around the realm, but regrettably none of them can identify the mysterious illness within her. Despite this, the king makes every effort to lift his queen's spirits. When he brings some circus acts to the palace one day, the queen discovers that one off thighs the queen is always upset. Seeing his wife in this state, when the king learns that the circus performer is having a child, he visits her room and promises to do all it takes to help her. This causes the performer to feel envious and begin destroying objects after entering her chamber. A strange necromancer shows up at the palace late at night, saying he can help the queen with her pregnancy. At this, the necromancer insists that the queen can bear a child, but it depends on how far the king is ready to go for his queen. The monarch tells him that many others have tried in the past and failed. The monarch reacts to the final degree. The necromancer divulges his years of experience and extensive knowledge of the natural world. The necromancer then goes on to explain how the king will have to capture a sea monster whose heart will be used to cure the queen's illness. A pure and unmarried lady will then prepare it, which will be eaten by the queen. In this way, the necromancer assures that the queen will become pregnant. Hearing this, the king immediately agrees to hunt down the sea monster. Furthermore, he says that nature must always be in balance, and that if the king desires a life, he must also sacrifice one. Despite his bizarre claims, and starts making the arrangements when the king embarks on his journey. The next day, he discovers when the monster in one of the rivers is dozing off, the king approaches the ocean to attack it. He eventually succeeds in killing the beast, but not before removing its heart. The queen then goes back to the castle and covers the heart with a cloth. Later, a maid at the castle is discovered to be unmarried and pure. As a result, she is tasked with preparing the heart. While cooking, she feels strange sensations and unexpectedly becomes pregnant. The queen eventually devours the heart and becomes pregnant. In the following scene, the queen and the maid give birth. The movie then jumps forward to 16 years, when the children have grown into adults. The queen is living a happy life with her son Elias, because she believes that she has been given a second chance at life. However, the 2 children who were born on the same day and look like twins are not typical children, as the sea monster is represented by the white tone of their hair. To their children at the same time, the boys look to be the same age. The maid's son is named Jonah, and the queen's son, Elias. In the story, the queen informs her son that he is not allowed to be friends with the maid's son Jonah. Despite this, Elias ignores his mother and continues to meet with Jonah. The children also have the ability to breathe underwater in a unique way. In the next scene, the queen threatens her maid that if she does not prevent her son from meeting Elias, she and her child will be expelled from the country. Nevertheless, the two appear indifferent and frequently get together. One day though, they cross the line when Jonah puts on Elias's clothes and goes to the queen. When the queen learns the truth, she decides to banish Jonah from the kingdom. Jonah tries to stop him but fails, so he chops off a tree with his knife, causing water to flow. He tells Elias that as long as the water is clean, he should know that he is alive, and that if it turns red, he should realize that his life is in danger. With that, Jonah leaves. Every day, Elias checks to see if the water has turned red. When the river turns red one day, he knows something is off and leaves to find Jonah. After a protracted search, Elias eventually finds Jonah's home without telling his mother. He finds out that Jonah has married a young woman, and the locals recognize him as Jonah because they have similar facial features. He then finds out that Jonah went to the forest 5 days prior and hasn't returned since. Elias then goes in search of Jonah, and as the queen grows increasingly worried about him, she turns to the necromancer once more. When he repeats his question, he demands that she give her life in order for her child to return. The queen accepts this request without delay somewhere else. When a flying creature hears that Jonah is hurt inside a cave, it attacks and tries to murder him. Cry out when Elias finds Jonah and uses his sword to kill him. He doesn't realize that the creature is actually his mother. But that's what was decided upon life for life in the last scene of the original narrative. After that, Elias takes the throne in the kingdom, and the story comes to a close. After then, the second story is shown to us, in which the monarch and two elderly women named Emma and Dora are the main characters. This story, the king is an extremely lustful man who is surrounded by women all the time, drinks excessively, and hasn't found his queen. Despite this, he has the power and wealth to marry whoever he pleases. Later, we meet two elderly sisters who live close to the palace. One is named Dora, and the other is named Emma. Dora is a cunning and self-centered woman. Even though Emma is straightforward, the fact that they are single and rarely leave their home means that they will undoubtedly pass away there. Even though they are alone, their voices sound so lovely and youthful. One morning, the king hears Dora singing and is immediately drawn to her voice. He resolves to meet her, and he goes to their door to catch a glimpse of the woman in his thoughts. He believes Dora to be youthful and attractive when he knocks on the sisters' door. The sisters work extremely hard to make their fingers look young and beautiful. Dora covers her fingers with herbs, but they still look like those of an elderly person. They begin to panic, believing that the king will become enraged if he finds out about their appearance. Eventually, they come up with a plan, and Dora asks the king to return after a week, so that she will feel more at ease in the next scene. However, Emma has been putting her finger in her mouth for a number of days, so it's looking pretty good and young. A week has gone, and today is the day of the king's visit. When the king gets there, Dora shows him Emma's finger rather than her own. The king can't control his emotions and thinks he has found the love of his life. But the sisters worry more because the king will probably end their relationship if he finds out. After giving it some thought, Dora suggests a rule. She will only sleep with the king in complete darkness, and the king consents, and in the following scene, Emma begins to tighten Dora's body with glue so that it feels like the body of a young girl. At midnight, one of the temple's guards arrives to pick Dora up. While it is still dark inside the palace, the king sleeps with Dora, but when he wakes up in the morning, he discovers that he spent the night with an ugly, elderly woman. Furious, he gives his guards orders to throw Dora out of the window. But fortunately, she survives the fall in the jungle. Dora observes magic when a witch discovers her and uses her abilities to transform Dora into the lovely young woman with long hair. The following day, when the king goes hunting in the jungle, he brings the young Dora to his palace and declares her to be the queen after falling in love with her at first sight. Although Dora is unsure of how she changed into a young girl, she recognizes her sister Emma, whom she invites to her wedding. Emma is still shocked by her new appearance, and when Emma asks how she became young, Dora quips cynically that she just peeled off her old skin. Emma, on the other hand, believes it to be true and goes to an ironsmith to peel her old skin in return for a necklace. Seems to be much more foolish than Emma. The enchantment that converted Emma into a young girl doesn't stay long. She starts to grow old as her skin begins to fold. He takes her to the jungle, binds her against a tree, and removes all of her skin. In the following scene, Emma returns to the castle in a weak state, and she passes away soon elsewhere. She flees the castle when she becomes aware of her advancing age. The story ends tragically when Dora fully changes into her older self. After this, we see the third story, which is also about a king. The strange king has an unmarried daughter named Violet whom he has never truly loved. One day, the king notices a parasite insect on his hand that is sucking on his blood. Rather than swatting it away, the strange king just lets it feed on himself. Later, he enables the parasite to live on his blood every day in a glass box. The insect grows enormous over time, but Violet, who has developed into a lovely young woman, always dreams of a prince. The irresponsible king, however, could not give a damn about her because he was too preoccupied with his pet parasite. Sadly, one day the parasite gets sick and dies, which devastated the king, who then peels off the skin of the parasite and tells his daughter that the time has come for her to find a husband. He claims he will set up a competition. Violet becomes happy upon hearing this, but the winner gets to marry her. The king makes announcements about the competition throughout the kingdom. He displays the parasite's skin in his palace and declares that whoever can guess the name of the insect will win. Many people try, but no one can guess the right answer because the insect has never grown that big and old. Just then, an odd-looking ogre appears in the palace. Despite her desire to find a husband on her own, she is also a little upset. Nevertheless, she agrees to the king's decision. He requests to compete as well, and the king reluctantly grants it. The ogre then smells the skin and predicts the right response. Violet is distraught to hear this and rushes to the roof to try to end her life. The king comforts her, telling her that he cannot violate his pledge, leaving her with no other option than to agree. The ogre transports Violet to the mountains in the following scene, where she sobs for a long time. When he goes hunting one day, she spots another woman on a nearby mountain. She begs for help and tells the other woman about the whole situation. The woman sympathizes with her and promises to come for help the following day. The lady and her family arrive there to rescue Violet. As they cross the rope, the ogre arrives, but they manage to cut it, and he falls. A while later, the ogre finds the family and kills them one by one. He then follows Violet into a cave and starts hugging her. Violet also pretends to care, but the moment he's distracted, she finishes. Violet returns to the palace in the following scene, carrying the severed head of the ogre, and she sets it next to each person. That was everything from the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. This is the husband you chose, and he begins to cry. The king is equally horrified by the sight and breaks down in tears. In the last scene, Violet ascends to the throne, and the film concludes here. In order to help us out, please hit the like button and subscribe for more stuff like this. If you would like us to recap your favorite movie, please leave a comment. Until next time, take care.